And we are back. We are here with Katie Goldberg of Goldberg Injury Law, and this is, as expected, Cross-Examined with Mike Troiano. As always, I only bring on people that I think you're going to love and find interesting. Katie has a law family background, a Vandy undergraduate, smarty pants, Vanderbilt. For those who don't know the Vandy short term there. UNLV Boyd law grad, and at some point in her law career, she decided she no longer wanted to sign the back of the checks, but wanted to sign the front of them, and opened up her own injury firm, Goldberg Injury Law. What's going on, Katie?
Thank you. What a great introduction. Thank you, Mike. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Are you truly happy to be here?
Yes, I am.
I love it.
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Because we don't do any of the fake stuff here. It's raw.
No,
I
am.
It's emotional.
I didn't cancel this morning, which is rare for me, right, Tracy? Are you proud of me? I didn't cancel.
Good.
Yep.
We're on a good start. So, brief introduction. Like I said, you got a family background in law. That's always great and interesting. Very prestigious undergrad university. We'll talk a little bit about that later.
My claim to fame.
Is that the claim to fame?
Yeah, that's my claim to fame.
Came back to Vegas, did the Boyd Law School thing, and as I said, eventually you decided you wanted to be the boss, and you are the boss. So, can you give our listeners, viewers, billions, trillions out there? Austin says it's always between billions and trillions, depending on what's going out there in social media. Can you give them a little bit more in-depth background, personal, professional, that you're willing to share so we can have an understanding of how you got here today? Because you didn't just wake up and run your firm.
Yeah. So I grew up in Las Vegas, just like you. And my dad was an injury attorney, so I grew up going to his office. It was just him and my mom running it for years, and he had to shut down kind of early due to some family issues we were having. My brother has severe Down syndrome. It was very hard for him to go to the office. My brother couldn't go to school, couldn't have a sitter, so he shut down, and I always thought, all right, I want to restart what he built one day. So I wanted to get into the best undergrad I could, got a full ride to Vanderbilt, and then went to Boyd School of Law, where I got a full ride too, which was great. I worked at a large firm here in Vegas doing litigation, so trials, mediations, arbitrations, for about 6 years, and then opened my own firm 6 years later. On a personal level, I'm married to a personal injury attorney, Steve Schulman, who you know.
I know Steve. Well,
and we have 2 kids together, Josh, who's 4, and Gia, who's 2. So that keeps us very busy.
Yes, indeed, it does. So your father had that firm, so you kind of grew up understanding and learning what it was like to be in the legal field, and that didn't take you away from it. It sounds like, in fact, you wanted to lean more into it.
Yeah, I really liked seeing how he helped people and seeing, who would come to the office. It was always fun. I loved when the strippers would come in, or some of his clients I just still remember to this day. And I was like, oh, that's fun. You meet all types of different walks of life and you help them. And, this is one of the biggest times of their life. They get injured. They're in a car accident. That's what I do. And so they remember you forever. And you're like their lawyer. Kind of like you are to your clients.
Yeah, I'm going to say, we're going to ask you about your shoe collection later, but now I think I'm putting the connections between the fascination of the strippers at your dad's office to your very detailed high heel collection. But I didn't think we were going to get into that this early. Is there a correlation there?
I think so. You know who I was always obsessed with as a kid was the movie Casino.
Great movie.
Great movie. Ginger.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that's my parents let me see that when I was in kindergarten or first grade, which is shocking now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, she's so cool. I didn't really think about the drug overdose part at that time. But
yeah, I want to avoid
I think
ODing.
That's what influenced my fashion collection and my love to I love how she tipped people. And, was her.
We were already friends and already had a connection, but I didn't know about the Casino fascination.
Yeah, fascination. Favorite movie.
I love that movie as well. I was probably 5th grade, something around there. No, it was junior high because I remember watching it. So sometime in junior high, watching it at a friend's house. I was not allowed to watch it at home.
No, I know your mom, and I know I don't say that. It's just
yeah, that wasn't happening. But if that movie is not quoted weekly by me in some sort of text message to a friend, then it's not a regular week. So that's interesting. So Ginger was the fascination for that.
Yes.
But your dad had to take a step back so that he could be home and help with your brother and raising him. And what do you want to share about that? Were you part of that as a child? Did you have to take on like assisting with that and your relationship with your brother?
Yeah, that was it was really hard. You know, my poor brother, he has, not only does he have Down syndrome, he's got alopecia, so he loses his hair.
Okay.
And then he has a lot going on, like bipolar. There's a lot. So a lot of behavioral issues. And yeah, I mean, as a kid, he would just unbuckle his seatbelt in the car. We'd be driving on the freeway and he'd start like attacking my mom in the front seat.
Oh, wow.
So it was like very hard. We got to a place where we couldn't even take him out of the house, basically. So my poor mom was doing it, so a lot of it. And then so my dad didn't have her at the office because he never trusted any staff.
Okay.
And then my dad just decided, you know, let's just, you know, kind of close up shop. So yeah, my parents are very frugal.
Yeah, it's interesting that the transition, that's tough. Obviously, anybody who has children have had children at any age, but especially younger age when they're physically strong enough to, you know, almost attack or hard to restrain. And
yeah.
I obviously can't compare it to my youngest. She doesn't have those sort of ailments or handicaps, but there are times where they're so like restrictive, like just putting in the car seat and you're like, I'm going to break this child's arm if I force this. Like you have to like take a step back and be like, okay, this is not going to work, kind of thing. So that had to be quite a challenge, obviously, from your parents' aspect, and then from you as a bigger sister.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. Oh, I used to watch him, and he would just, I mean, he's just crazy sometimes. You know, I'd have to babysit him, and when my parents were working, and you know, but I think it made me a stronger person and a more empathetic person because, and one of those that can relate with others more so than if I didn't have him as a brother. Well, you know,
empathy is a big thing in life, and I would say even more so of the law and what we do, because a lot of people would naturally like to have that. Others, I think it's learned. You know, I'll be honest, like me personally, I think when it comes down to at least work or even in life, sometimes I'm a lot more like analytical and like, hey, this is the way it's supposed to be done, or this is the way that I do it, right? Because that's what we do as so-called high achievers, right? You got to get a good GPA. You got to get your undergrad. You got to do good on the LSAT. You got to pass the bar the first time. And so when you see other people that aren't necessarily in your shoes, it's not at least from my perspective, oh, I'm better than this person, but it's like, no, I have to follow the system. It's like that being very rigid, if you will.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older in life, and I've said this before, I think especially having children, it really has helped me understand and I guess tap into that empathy side. And it seems like that's something that you kind of grew up with and has helped you a lot with like your firm and your clients, because you're dealing with them at a tough point in their life, right? I mean, they might be going to jail, prison, you name it.
Point. You are,
And you, I mean, I'd say it could be equally as tough in a lot of aspects where they're severely injured. They might have lost their job, their ability to work, feed their family, just to have any kind of self-worth. And I think as far as the PI side, a lot of people just see all the big fancy billboards and all the zeros against it and thinks it's just going to be this paycheck. But really, you're trying to just get them whole.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand.
Exactly. And having my brother, it influenced me into doing injury law because something happened to him at a school. We don't know what, but he basically shut down and wouldn't go back to school. And I thought, you know, who fights for these kind of people who are injured and can't protect themselves? So I really got into elder abuse and disabled abuse in like college, law school. I did like my thesis on that kind of stuff. And so I always thought I want to go into injury to help people that are hurt, who are defending these people, you know? So it's nice whenever I get like a single mom client. I really love that. I give a nurse's discount because I love nurses, you know.
They're on the front lines.
They're on the front lines.
They are.
So yeah, I'm glad that I think our childhoods definitely shape, you know, so much of who we become. Grow into.
That's true. And another thing that you pointed out, we're gaining even more connections, even though we've known each other so many years now, is the thesis. I don't think in law school they call it a thesis, but I've always called it a thesis.
Yeah.
So whatever
I
that
know. What was it called?
I don't know, the final, some kind of paper, but
one
I know
paper.
thesis, you have to, like, they challenge you. So for all our PhDs out there that have done
Yes.
like legitimate thesis, we acknowledge it's like not that same
No, this is
protocol,
not.
but that's what I called it. That's what you kind of called in law school. And it's funny. So you did something in law school, which a lot of people that I went to law school with still didn't even know what area of law they wanted to practice, or if they even really wanted to be a lawyer, as
wow.
crazy as that sounds. They were just in law school. Sounds like you knew. I've known from a young age exactly, not only want to be a lawyer, but I want to be a criminal defense lawyer. And so my thesis was on DUI law. And I do a lot of DUIs, I do all criminal, and you did something that in line with yours. So we've had similar, I guess, pathways for the so-called law school thesis.
Yeah.
Now, like I started in the introduction, we talked about that you decided that you no longer wanted to sign the back of the checks. You wanted to sign the front of the checks and start your own firm. Another thing that we are similarly aligned in, we worked for other firms prior to going out on our own, and that creates a lot of challenges, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
In any business, let alone a law firm, and especially PI. Now, there are marketing challenges, financial challenges, budgeting, staff. Can you walk us, meaning me and the audience, through like on the ground floor? Because I remember my story like it was yesterday, and now it'll be 18 years practicing in October.
Wow.
And, yeah, right. I know it
Wow.
sounds crazy when you say out loud.
That's crazy.
And I think 2014, so 12-ish years on my own. And that'll be another pod. Maybe I'll do a solo one and walk through that. But I could remember the setup, the game plan, the things that did work, the things that didn't work. Can you bring us into like the formation of your injury firm?
Sure. Well, I'm still learning every day on what works and what doesn't. But we actually started out of my house. It was just me and one other girl, Caitlin Dukart. And I said, all right, I was bringing in a lot of business at Main or Worth, about 10 clients a month. So it got to a point where I was losing money by staying there. And if you're at that point, I would tell anyone, go start your own firm. If you're bringing in a business each month, go ahead and do it. So we started out of my house, and luckily my husband is an injury attorney who has his own firm. So I used his office space to meet with clients. And then we got a few more employees. So I got one of those WeWork type spaces. It was really cost effective. And then we could use the conference room there. And then we grew super fast and moved into an office. And I would say I credited a lot to social media and adding all of my prior clients onto social media, even at Main or Worth. I would do that since year one, giving my cell phone out to every single client that I worked with at my old firm. And then still just doing a good job and relating well to every client, keeping in contact with them, remembering their birthdays. If you see that they're pregnant online, congratulations, that kind of stuff. And just really maintaining the client relationships has helped my business so much. And now we've grown into like 11 employees and, we're doing really well.
Yeah. I mean, that's obvious. If you have social media, you're all over the place, and it's done hard. Very well. But yeah, like you said, it's not done overnight. If you can clarify, when you're talking about when you were at your previous firm and those connections, was that while you were there, or are you talking about like subsequent to when you went out on your own? Then you said, "Hey, this is the game plan that we need to basically do this kind of outreach." Can you explain that to me a little?
No, I was doing that at my previous firm.
Okay.
So for anyone that wants to, I got, of course, a higher commission if I brought in a case there, and my bosses were super cool about it. And so I wanted to do a good job. I'm neurotic. And so I would
we have
always,
another thing in common. Oh my God, Katie.
and so I would always make sure that I just pick up the phone and say hi to someone or text them, hey, how you doing? Add them on social media when you're working with them, so you develop that relationship. And I was doing all the intakes in that office. I was doing a lot of intakes. So, doing that and doing a good job really transpires. And then you maintain those relationships over time. And then, they're going to be like, oh, Katie is my lawyer. I want to go to her. And they remember you. So that's my advice to anyone wanting to start their own firm is definitely get experience somewhere. and build relationships where you're at.
I think the only thing I would differ on slightly is when you're saying the people that could bring in business like you did and I did as well. There's yet another commonality where I got to a point where I was looking at the numbers of what I was bringing in, and it was essentially word of mouth. I mean, I wasn't adding people on social media. Maybe I should have. Maybe things would have gone quicker. I always kind of kept that barrier when I was working for a separate firm, and things are a little different when it's your criminal attorney. Just a little, because it's like, hey, money up front. That's how we work. And then you guys, you're like, don't worry, you only pay if we win, right? So you're like, hey. So I kind of half jokingly say that when clients say, oh, I had a PI case before. I'm like, a little bit different, a little bit different here. I was like, I'm still working my butt off for you, but a little bit of a different situation. But similar to you, I started building a book of business, and that was with no advertising because I was an associate. You don't really advertise. I should have done what you did, because that's kind of a nice way to skirt that, if you will, is to build those kind of connections. But either way, like simply just through word of mouth in the community, other lawyers such as yourself, referring cases, having your trust in me. But where I would differ slightly is when you're saying, hey, anybody who can start building that book of business, go out on their own. I would say one of two things. When that's happening is you've got to really look in the mirror and say, am I ready for what you've did and what I've done, which is building a firm? Because it is an enormous task. You could be a great marketer. You could be a great person. You could be a great lawyer. You could have all these things lined up, but it is hard as hell, as you know, to build a firm from one employee in your house. My first years, it was 3.5 years solo. I would just have
that's hard. You didn't have any staff?
I had a virtual receptionist, so I would always call it the illusion of professionalism. Because I was very conservative with my money. I didn't grow up with money. We were middle class, and no cry for me here kind of situation. But I was like, hey, this pot goes to the firm. This is what we get to live off for the next X couple of months, and honey, I better make it work. Kind of situation. But back to the point, if you're a rainmaker and you're in a firm, you either, I think, go to your firm and negotiate for better numbers.
And I did that. But then I'm so glad I took the leap and did my own thing. And the deal didn't work out. I'm so glad. So
you were in that similar thing where you weren't ready to jump, and then you decided after those negotiations kind of didn't go the way you wanted. If I'm reading into it correctly here, you decided, hey, it's really time to go. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I wanted to start a family. We had to do IVF for our first baby. So I was like, you know what? I don't have the time. I don't want to do litigation anymore.
Right.
I don't have the time. I just want to do, which that means like trials, stuff like that. I want to do pre-litigation. So that was a huge reason too, is wanting to start a family. I actually wanted to slow down a little bit, but then I got so addicted to having my own firm, and I'm like, oh, this is so fun. And I really like the marketing aspect, that then I didn't slow down, and now we're super busy.
Well, that snowball just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and becomes an avalanche. So you mentioned, again, even more stuff, and it's kind of weird that's all coming up now. We've probably talked about it in previous conversations, but as you know, life is busy, having a family, running a firm. Our social life at this stage isn't as what it used to be, right? That used to
pretty
be like
non-existent.
Number one, every little thing, and now it's about your children and your business and all those things. But the IVF challenges, that's a whole other podcast. I think eventually I'll bring my wife on. And
I know you guys need to do that.
I guarantee she'll come on and we'll talk about our very, very long battle with that, but it turned into a success, and she turned things around on her own. And quick highlight, both of my children are 100% natural. After all the crazy stuff we did with IVF and IUI and you name it, I'll save that story. But that's a challenge for anybody out there going through that. Katie's gone through it. I've gone through it with my wife. It's hell on earth.
You guys went through complete hell. I mean, that was horrible. And then all of a sudden she's pregnant and have 2 babies naturally. It's amazing.
God is good.
Amazing. Yeah. What a blessing.
So motherhood, that's another topic that is not only important, but something I intended to talk to you about today. So thank you for the transition. You're natural. You've done this a couple times before. Tell me about what you got wrong and what you got right going into being the girl boss, growing this firm, but also having that challenge as a mother. Because let's face it, some people don't agree, but there's a difference between a man in a woman.
Oh, I agree with that.
Okay, you agree with that.
100%.
Okay,
yes, I'm old school.
Okay, I'm not going to make you define it, but there's a difference. There's a difference between a man and a woman, and I think there's a difference between the roles that they play in each other's lives, and the impact. And I think that personally, that the mother, what I experience as a man, is crucial in those early stages, the bonding, etc. The first baby, I was kind of like a little jealous, like she always wants mommy, and now she's getting older. You see the transition. Daddy's girl kind of thing, and there's just kind of the natural order of things. But with you balancing all those different priorities, what did you get wrong? What did you get right? And now, what do you think as your kids are getting older, your practice is getting more mature? What do you think like currently that you're nailing, that you look yourself in the mirror and say like, Katie, you're killing it? Because that's hard, right? We're very hard on ourselves.
Yeah. My first thought is nothing. I'm just surviving every single day.
Right?
No, we had both NICU babies. So they were in the NICU with like catastrophes. I mean, Josh had to be helicoptered from one hospital to another here locally. They thought he wasn't going to walk and talk, you know. Oh, wow. So that was horrible in the beginning. And then Gia came super early, like 10 weeks early. So what was really challenging, you know, my husband helped me answer this, because I think any woman would agree, any mom, the first year is kind of a blur. And he was like, you weren't really all there. And he's like, you kind of just focused on your job and you went into that. And so I think and I've never really told anyone this, that's probably my number one regret, is I wish I would have spent
Zoom in, Austin.
a little bit more. No, I wish that Steve's going to be like, oh, wow.
It's like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Lights, bring it down.
I wish I would have spent like a little, like enjoyed it more, slowed it down a little bit, and like spent those times, you know, because my husband did a lot of like the late nights and everything. And it's really hard. I think it's impossible to balance it all, like to be this girl boss and that it's like.
Does that phrase offend you?
Yeah, I think it's really lame.
You don't want me to call you girl boss again?
No, please never say that again.
Okay, I retract that statement.
I think it's just like really, it's really hard to balance it. But, you know, you kind of just got to do what you can. And
I'm just jealous. Sorry to interrupt, but no one's called me a boy boss before. So I think,
right? Why do women only get these things?
I don't know. Like, I mean it as a term of endearment. I mean, if you back it up, what you are. You know, I think maybe there's a negative connotation if you're just like a pain in the ass, but you're not just posting on social media. You are running a firm, and that's like an effective strategy. So sorry that hijacked your story there, but I just want to let you know, for you, girl boss.
Thank you.
Term of endearment.
Thank you.
But we can retract that. We'll
Thank you. Thank you.
So the first year was kind of a blur, and
both
that's from your husband, who you love and trust. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I'm just not good at the baby phase. I'm just not good at it. I'm not that into it. I love newborn breastfeeding, that kind of like, I love that for the first like 2 months. And then it gets really hard for me because it's hard to connect, hard to balance it all, because like you know, we're both on our cell phones all the time. And it's the Sunday at 5 p.m. I will answer my phone, you know, especially if it's a new client. And it's hard to do that when you're trying to, okay, it's Sunday dinner, let's put the phone away, but you don't want to not get new business, you know? So yeah, I would say I wish I would have been more in tune with my kids and slowed down a little bit, and I'm always like, oh, I've got to be a perfectionist in my business. And I wish I would have been more like, let me be this perfect mom instead.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And I think, what's that saying? Like, perfection is the enemy of good or great or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm probably messing that up, but you know, I don't think we strive for it. That's just the personality type that we have. And I think you need that when you're running a business or potentially having a family. But at the same time, there's that human element. And so I understand a lot what you're saying of like, it went fast. Like, you know, thank God for our phones and like the pictures and like memories. Like, I'm one of those dads who bought like the old school like handheld camera, and I got the tripod. No, I'm talking like, sorry, not camera, the recorder. Like I know our iPhones do all that, but like I got one of those for like Christmas morning and you know, other certain kind of things.
Does it connect to your Bluetooth then, or how does that work?
It's just an old school handheld camera, and then I just got it, you know, in the little disc that it saves it, and then every blue moon I load it to the cloud, and eventually I'll hit up somebody like Austin to put this beautiful montage, and I'll play it at her wedding, and they'll be like, "What a great dad! He got all those memories." So
that's sweet.
Or at least
cool, though.
that's what I'm hoping for. But I understand the phone thing too, and that's something that I've tried to be better at. And like literally, even if the kids aren't around, like I will sometimes hand my phone to my wife, like.
Really?
Put it away. Like that's how much, because it's such a natural thing, because we're on it so much for business. Yeah, and it's not natural. It's an addiction. Let's be clear. And so I always have that built-in excuse. And yeah, I am on my phone a lot, and I am working a lot, but there's also social media apps, and like it blends, right? It blends.
Love TikTok.
Yeah, it's like, are you doom scrolling or are you actually working?
Yeah,
and
no.
I think anything we do running a business in this valley with what we do, and being aware of what's going on with people doing intake, it can be construed as that. But no, I do that a lot. Date nights, I try. When we go to Hawaii, that's like once a year where I get to, I intentionally, I don't even leave it in the condo. I put it in the safe.
Oh,
like,
wow.
and like my wife gets like excited. Yeah.
Discipline.
I try to get off the grid in that aspect, and then I have my team, and we coordinate that, and it's still a vacation, but it's always going to be a working vacation, because if there's emergencies or there's a new lead that needs to talk to me and has in-depth like legal questions, when they got to make that very important decision, is Mike Troiano the guy, is this the firm, or is Katie the gal?
Yeah.
You got to have that accessibility, but you also have to have balance for your children, because when we're old and gray, and that's not here quite yet, they're not going to care about that business success. They're going to care about, like, what was my relationship with my mom?
That's true.
What was my relationship with my dad? And your family, your kids are going to have 2 lawyers in the family.
2 lawyers, yep. And then Steve's parents were also lawyers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then his brother, my brother-in-law, is a lawyer, too. So
your
we
kids
got a
are
lot.
definitely not going to be lawyers. They probably
will. Yours too.
We'll see. I don't know. My daughter's
you and Joe.
My daughter, unlikely. Yeah, my brother's a lawyer, but his story's a little different. I mean, he just basically got sick of work one day after undergrad and just went to my dad, just like nonchalant, like, fuck it, I'm going to law school. And
really?
Like, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you'll have to ask him. I think the story goes where he got his undergrad degree, just doing life normal, smart guy, good guy. And I think he went down to like the strip for like some job to like sell timeshares, 115-degree weather, and drunk tourists being like, get the hell out of my face. Like, I want a slot machine, or where's the stripper, or whatever.
Yeah.
And my dad just tells the story vividly, like he always does. Like, hey, brother came home today and declared he's going to law school. I'm like, oh, that easy? Okay. But it was for him. He did it, and he jumped in. And as you know, you work with Joe. You guys do cases together. He loves the law. And
he's an amazing lawyer. Besides myself, he's like the best.
There you go.
And my husband. Joe was amazing, and you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we do different areas, but Joe loves the law, and that's a huge compliment. So. Yeah, now with the whole family and his wife, Danielle.
Danielle's a lawyer too.
She's a lawyer too. So we went from no lawyers to the family. So we're like one generation behind you guys as far as seeing where that goes. But as you said earlier, you don't know if you're necessarily killing it. But let's be honest for a minute, Katie. What are you killing? I know there's something that you're nailing right now with that balance that you've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror.
Now I think I'm killing it as a mom.
Okay.
Now I think I'm killing it. I'm like very involved with my kids. I'm good after like age 2.5. I'll be honest. I think it's really hard to connect with your kids before that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not talking. They don't have that much of a personality, and it's just you're just going through the motions. And I think more people need to talk about that. I feel like a lot of people feel that way.
That is very astute, because I remember I had, as we've talked briefly about the infertility stuff, so I had kids later in life, if you will, and more so like later in my group of friends. And I'm unfortunate to have a large group of friends. Even with everybody being busy with the kids, we don't get to do what we used to do, but everybody kind of understands, right? And there's no hard feelings. But as far as my group friends, I was like basically the last. And I remember one of my good friends would always say like, oh, the kid's just a blob. And he was like very nonchalant. And here I am like dying, like to have a kid, like, just you want to be happy for your friends, but you're also going through this emotional turmoil. And I'm like, well, I don't get it. Like he's what a jerk.
What a
he's
jerk.
What a jerk. And then you have the kid. And although, yes, I was very happy after a while, especially seeing the bond with the mother. And I appreciate you being open like that, because that was just my naivety, because you're breastfeeding, possibly you're doing all these things. There's a lot more early intimate bonding with the mom. I mean, that's nature, right? That's that's literally human nature. So to hear you admit that and be honest that mothers go through that too, because I thought that was just like a dad thing, because there isn't much that I can do other than like support my wife. And I would just feel like it's like a bad SNL skit where she's like doing something and I'm kind of like standing behind her like, what do I do? You know, it's not like the typical dad, I'm at the bar down the street and I'm never around, or I work till 10 p.m. every night. I mean, obviously if we're in trial, I'm working and my wife gets that, but I'd be around, but I'd also feel like, what the hell am I doing?
Right.
Like I can't breastfeed this baby. I can't, like, she wants mom. So to see that mothers go through that too, and it's interesting that you mentioned, because it's fact. It sounds like around like 2.5, which my youngest is like right there. The personality switches on
for sure,
and that's where I went from I love this child and to like head over heels. Where I'm like, oh my God, like, who is this person?
Best friends,
right?
Do everything together.
Hey, this is Mike Troiano with Cross Examine. If you're looking for criminal defense in the state of Nevada, I am your guy. Go to our website, listed down below, TroianoVegasLaw.com. What did you notice about the personality differences with your two children? And the reason I ask is when we had the first daughter, she's basically a mini-me version, which can be terrifying and awesome. So I can kind of like project what's going on and been helpful in a lot of ways when she's got like certain like challenges. And I'm like, no, I know what's going on, and that worked. And then when we got news on the second one, I'll be honest, I was hoping for a boy. I mean, I was like boy, girl, girl, but with our fertility struggles, really just healthy, happy. But I wasn't going to be mad if it was son, daughter, and we're done. Had the name picked out and everything.
And what was the name?
Romeo.
Oh,
that was my grandfather's name. Came right over on the boat. So yeah, I was going straight Italian. But so I'll have to get a dog one day and call Romeo or something like that. Although every name in the house is a female name. Our fish is named Rainbow, picked out by my oldest. That wasn't my choice of name, but Romeo will come someday in one form. But when it was announced the second and final baby was going to be a daughter, I was like, okay, I got over the boy thing like this quick, because blessed to be there and just wanted to see heart was beating, happy and healthy. But the biggest trip for me as far as a parent, and I don't know really if it's more so as a dad as well, is I know what daughter one is. Her personality aligns with me. Not that I wanted to or need to, but at least I felt like, all right, I got that in my back pocket. I have an idea where she's going, and she has other things that aren't aligned with how I am. So it's not, a carbon copy, but it was a good baseline for me as a new parent. With the second one, I'm just like, who's coming home? Who's coming into my house?
Exactly the same.
Because they're not going to be the same. Nature, nurture, these children have their own default personalities. And as a parent, you could screw them up real good. We've seen it.
Yes. Yeah.
Day and day, you're sitting in traffic. You've seen it. You go to the courthouse. You've seen it. I mean, that's the world that we live in. But there's innate personality traits, in our DNA, and that was like my biggest fear and curiosity is who is this person that's coming home? How did you navigate that, or did you at all?
So my son is very me, very friendly, very theatrical, very funny. If you've seen him, he's on social media all the time. He imitates me. My daughter, now my husband says she's a lot like me because she like throws tantrums. She is the most defiant person ever. She will just lay down, and she's a daddy's girl. She definitely likes Steve over me. I think my son likes
the most. Did the mic pick that up?
It's a competition. It is in our house. No, it's not. But she's just like, she just throws fits all the time, and she will pull her hair out. I don't know. Did your kids do this? Pull her hair out and eat it.
Ooh, I don't think the eating portion, but we've had some hitting their own face, some things where you're like, CPS will come. I'm pretty sure I had to explain to my daughter at like 4, like, you can't hurt yourself. Like, somebody will come and take you away. And I didn't want to say it, but knowing what I know as a criminal defense attorney,
that's scary.
And she's like looking at me, and I'm like, how do I not threaten her, but also explain, like, so I've not the hair eating, but like smacking their own face, whatever. Luckily, it was just a phase. It's not current, but now we're with the 2.5-year-old. We're in the midst of the terrible twos and the defiance.
A hard but good age. But yeah, so she has like this mullet going on, and yeah, that's why she has a little cute bob. But she's so cute. She's just totally different than Josh, it seems like. But she wants to be just like him. Isn't that cool how your kids like imitate each other, and do they like look up to each other?
They're obsessed.
Yeah,
they're obsessed with each other,
fun.
and I'm struggling with I don't want my oldest to be like a pseudo parent, but but like just last night, I was like the youngest just like hand in the mouth, like she knew I was gonna brush her teeth, and I'm like, come on, bro. Like we do this every night, but again, 2.5-year-old, you can't just do brute force. So, and my oldest went over and was like, open up, and did it, and she was all happy, and it was funny because my oldest kind of having a lights on moment, or at least she was able to articulate it. She's like, isn't it interesting that maybe she's interesting, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but in her own 6-year-old way, it was just like she knows, like I know what she needs, and I was just like, you do, like that's a sister's bond, and I'm like, thanks for helping me. At the same time, I try not to like always default to be like, hey, help this, do that, because she's still got to be a kid too. So how are you observing that bond between the two?
The same thing, Josh, he's 4, and he's always, he'll be like, Gia, stop having a fit. Gia, do this. Gia, do that. And he's obsessed with cleaning. He's like, all right, I got to unload the dishwasher. It's actually great.
Yeah.
He unloads the dishwasher, and he just like acts like a parent to her. Yeah. It's cute.
I love it. So we've got into the work-life balance and the challenges of that. And you feel like the early days kind of just wiped over you, basically.
Yeah, it was really hard to balance building your book of business and having a newborn, and and maybe I'm being a little hard on myself, but yeah, it was really hard. So I would say just give yourself grace and survive.
All right, sounds like a bumper sticker.
Give yourself
grace.
Yeah.
Now, back on the legal side of things, because as we both agree, our businesses and our family are equally important. I mean, some people will get grossed out by that, like, oh, your family's number one. They are. But to me, and I would imagine to you, if you're going to provide for them, this is the vessel, your job, your career, whatever you may do. And I personally don't see another life for myself. I mean, as you know, right now, every lawyer in town is running for judge, and like it's an election cycle that's crazy, because like all these seats are up, and people are like, when are you running? And I'm like, no, I love my firm, I love this and this lifestyle. But when it comes to the legal side of things, every lawyer has a skill set, and hopefully you want to have a list of skill sets so that you become an undeniable force for your clients, for their best interest, whether that is challenging multi-billion-dollar corporations, insurance companies that you do on the PI side, and making them whole, getting them as many zeros as they can at the end of the check as you can. Me seeing what I can do to keep them out of prison, keep them out of jail, hopefully get their case dismissed so they don't lose their job, things of those natures. Those are high-stake kind of things. What skill sets or set do you have that you think stands out, like that you really lean into? Because again, you want the whole gambit and the plethora, and you need to use different skill sets throughout the probably day and hour sometimes in our jobs. But what is one that you think is either natural or you've really just trained over the years that you're like, hey, this is me, like bring me in, coach, like this is like, whether it's empathy, like what do you think stands out for you as an advocate for your clients, as a lawyer, that you really focus on? Yeah,
I would say empathy, because I can put myself in their shoes. I also have an injury to my knee. I don't know what's wrong with it. I've had 2 surgeries. I've had 2 surgeries, yet I still wear high heels, and it gives me pain every day. But I understand living with this chronic issue, and I don't know what happened. One day I was 21, and I literally just woke up and my knee started hurting. So, and I think the empathy and the ability to connect with other people, not a lot of people have that. People are kind of awkward and weird, a lot of people. And you and I aren't, and we're good at that, good at connecting with people and really empathizing what situation they're in and coming up with a plan to get them out of that situation and try to make them, whole or get their life back together on track. And I don't think a lot of lawyers have that. I think that they're more, oh, you just got to research this. And, and I think that's why we are good at bringing in business, is because we're friendly. People like us, and we're good at relating to all types of people, all walks of life.
No, I agree. And I'm not trying to be agreeable always here, but I think that's not only an important skill set, but if I had to put the microphone or the microscope and focus on myself, that's probably one of the reasons I went out on my own, is because I can talk to anybody. You sit me at a bar, you sit me on an airplane, whatever it may be, and that's probably born in me, nature, nurture. I've always been like that. I've always been a personality, outgoing. Yeah. And then I've had jobs since I was 15.
Same.
Right? Same thing.
Maybe that's why hardworking and
yeah, you get a skill set. You work with the public at large. It's not like some lawyers where they just literally school, and then they're 25 and they have their first job ever. Like that terrifies me.
That's crazy.
And I've interviewed some lawyers for like associate jobs, and I'm not saying that they can't be skilled, but yeah, like you said, that's the first thought I think of. Crazy. I'm like, you've never even had like a summer job, and having elite, how boring too, right?
Sorry to any of those people, though.
I'm not sorry. They're probably just enjoying the automatic transfer that comes in their accounts, and we were the ones being like, oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Sweating at 100. What did you do when you were 15?
I was just gonna ask you. Look at us.
Free lifeguard?
Our lines are one. No, I didn't get the glamour lifeguard job to start with. I transitioned into that. My first job was at Smith's grocery store. 15 years old, bagging groceries for $5.10 or 15 cents an hour. So, and I hustled for tips because you take people out to their car.
That's right.
And it's funny, you bring it back the stripper theme that we're having today. I remember plenty of times where I would take out like 2 full grocery carts for people, and like wouldn't even like help me. They get in the car, put in the whole thing, like drive off before I'm even closing the thing. Yeah, I got a couple of those stories. And then I'd have the strippers come in, and they'd literally have like a hanger, and like, I'm like, can I take you to your car? And of course, I'm 15. They're beautiful. I'm like, they're probably gonna tip me and give a $5, and they're like, all right, don't spend that all on beer. I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, thinking I got a shot with a 25-year-old woman. That was not the case, but no, that was like a big foundation. And then I went to some of the big pools on the Strip, and that was more money, more glamour, a lot of fun. Worked front desk for my last 2 years of college.
Me too.
Katie, what's going on?
We have like a similar
man?
Background. Yeah,
holy moly,
reception is so fun.
The only reason I was scared to do that job is because, as you know, it's predominantly women. And although I love women and I was a single guy, it was just kind of like the work environment. I'm like, I don't want to be like the only guy, but it was fine. I found my niche. I knew where I had 2 years to go until I was going to law school. I mean, I laid out my plans early in life, but I had a good time regarding that. But, back to like the skill set, that's not the reason I became a lawyer, but that is definitely one of the main reasons and why I finally had the courage to go out on my own. Because like you said, I was building the book of business. I was bringing it in. I was showing my boss every year. I'm like, hey, it's going up. It's up. And this is with no advertisement, not reaching out and doing the, connect on the social medias, which I should have done, but still just word of mouth and prior clients. And same thing, the negotiations got to a point where I was just like, I guess I got to go on my own. Yeah. I guess I got to do this. And that was what gave me the courage. Just like, hey, I can talk to people and I can make people comfortable and I could retain them and I could hopefully make them comfortable throughout the whole process. Now, at 5.5 years practicing at the time, I had that. What I lacked was the lengthy experience in day-to-day actions in the courtroom that you need, because 5.5 years can seem like an eternity, right? Law school was 3 years and it seemed like an eternity for most of us. But when you're competing against excellent lawyers all over the state of Nevada in our respective fields that have 10, 15, 25, 35 years experience, you have to be honest with your clients. And, they could look it up online, or obviously you just tell them, like, I practiced 5.5 years. So that was a little bit of a challenge, but I think that I leaned into that as well. Like, that was the basis. So absent your basis skill set of having those people connections, what was not high on your skill list that you needed either as a attorney, a litigator, running a business that feel that you've gained a lot of experience and you're a lot better at now than you were as far as day one?
That's a good question. I'm not doing trials and that kind of stuff. I would not ever say I'm a trial lawyer. I refer that out to your brother. I would say I've gained a lot of I'm really in depth in our job with the medicine and knowing, what an MRI shows. What does that mean? What is that pain going to feel like for that person? What type of treatment are they going to need? And so I'm very in tune with the medicine now that I've had my own firm. I really understand it. I've met with doctors to explain, what does this injection mean? What does this do? If a person has this MRI, what's the next course of treatment? And knowing that really helps relate to the clients more and guide through. So I've really studied the medicine, and that helps a lot.
That's something that I kind of learned probably through my brother. I have other friends, colleagues, including yourself, that I never really thought about as far as the personal injury side of things. And I guess the way that I would describe that is you need a major in law and a minor in medicine.
Oh, that would have been perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
Because relationships are important. Trust is important as well. But you need to be able to look your client in the eyes and say, hey, not only do I know this doctor, I trust this doctor, sometimes you need to call them out and say, no, I don't trust, or this isn't correct, and know what that is. Because I know what an MRI means. I've seen it, but absent it being like the sole focus of a case, like some of my child abuse cases, that's where I kind of have to get my minor in injuries, because it's a little bit different when the children can't speak for themselves, and it's like, hey, was it intentional, was it accidental? And,
right.
And I always repeat this. I have plenty of clients that did nothing, and then there's plenty of clients where there's some legitimate smoke there. But understanding the medicine, getting in depth with your experts, and making sure that you can apply the law to the facts, and
super important
is very important in regards to that. Is there any area in medicine, particularly, you brought up MRIs, but is there any one that you've really leaned into that you're like, I know more than the average bear?
Yeah, I would say neck and back injuries. Those are really common in accidents. Head injuries, even knee. Obviously, with my own knee, I'm in tune with that. A lot of knee and hand and wrist issues too. So pretty much the whole body.
So TBI, is that?
TBI, yeah, traumatic brain injury. I've worked with an expert in that. And then the clients I usually set them up with a talk therapist, as well as neuropsychological testing to see how they do on that exam. And then they go to therapy for that to, hopefully it'll help them in the future. But TBIs are permanent. So it's,
I was actually talking to Jay on the ride over here, world famous or infamous, whatever you want to call it, Kanye West. Did you see that he just bought an article, I don't know, New York Times. You guys know what it was, New York Times? Yeah. New York Times. And I don't know if the lawyer wrote it, and we're pretty good at reading stuff and seeing if it was completely lawyer written. I'm sure there was some assistance there, but it laid out his insane behavior, his self-described insane behavior. I mean, the guy's making songs about Hitler, selling swastikas. Sounds like he's being completely alienated by his own children, and we spent so much time talking about how important those relationships are. It's one thing to be an artist and be out there and be different. I don't sit there and try to judge anyone. I try not to, whether rappers or whoever they may be. And so you give them some artistic freedom. Mm-hmm. But let's just say at a minimum, he was unhinged, if not hateful. And reading that article, he came back to hey, I've messed up in so many different ways. So it was the first time to see some contrition, which at least on my side of the fence, criminal defense, at some point you need to show that, if there's a plea agreement or sentencing or whatever. And then it's not just, I'm sorry I got caught, but I'm sorry, and this was what I need to take care of. And he attributed a lot of this, and it may be legitimate. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I don't care. I don't need an apology from him. It's just is what it is. I don't live daily as to what celebrities or people that I don't know, what they say or don't say. But he basically said that his traumatic brain injury, that famous song "Through the Wire" that came out, or he had his mouth wired shut or whatever, was basically undiagnosed. And that's what he's saying as part of his apology, is that he's bipolar, but the TBI and all these kind of things. Again, I don't know if it's legit or not. It might be a week later that he goes right back off the rails, but I'll put it this way. It makes sense. It makes sense something like that would happen. And you were saying earlier that TBI doesn't go away. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? It doesn't
go away.
And what our hopes are for Kanye in the future?
Yeah, and it changes your personality. I
don't want to call him by his off name, right?
Yeah,
no girl boss.
What does he know?
I don't know, something.
But it's interesting because I always get these before and after statements from my clients, friends, and family. And when they have when they have a TBI, their friends and family notice they're more shut in, they're angry, they don't want to do things that they used to do. You know, it completely changes your personality. And my clients will have and I'll ask them, I'm like, oh, do you like doing this? Do you talk as much? They're like, yeah. And they just don't recognize that personality change, which is super interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not going to be aware of it. And do you notice a difference? Because like frontal lobe, right? That's like about like rationality and like decision making. Am I correct in that?
Right.
So do you notice a difference, or can you articulate on that between clients who have like frontal lobe TBI compared to like the back of their head? Like how nuanced has it been in your practice?
That I can't comment on.
Okay, fair.
That I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So case by case basis. Yeah. So, I mean, any brain injury, I would assume is going to be a problem. But the reason
when I get that kind of information, when there is a brain injury, I immediately call the doctor and I'm like, hey, tell me what's going on. What does this mean? And they're all a little different. So I think the worst are white matter changes. Anytime there's that going on, that's a big red flag. Like, oh, something's definitely up.
Okay.
And that's usually caused by a traumatic event, so a car accident or a slip and fall.
Interesting.
So then I call the doctor and I say, hey, what's going on? What can we do for this? And then he develops a plan. It's very individualized. You know, anytime that there's a remarkable MRI on the brain, that's how you diagnose a TBI, I call the doctor. And so having that connection,
so you need a little bit more than a minor.
Yeah. I'm like,
and
then it helps me. How do I communicate this news with the client? You know, the doctor tells them that diagnosis, but doctors don't always have the best bedside manner. And I feel like as their attorney, I'm also like their therapist and guiding them. So then how do I communicate with them and tell them this news and how to process it? And that's always hard. You know, when my clients need a surgery or that kind of thing.
You're making me laugh because I got a funny story from bedside manner. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So when I said earlier it was my last kid, it's my last kid.
Yeah.
So I went in for that very fun surgery that
you did it?
Every man looks forward to. Yeah.
Yep.
And my buddy he referred me to the doctor and he was like, oh, bro, he's like, for $100 extra, they give you nitrous. And I'm like, well, how does that work? Because I heard you could just drive home yourself. He's like, I don't know. Like you can like after you're done, like 15 minutes later, you're good. I'm like, they let you leave? I'm like, okay. So, and he's like, best $100 I ever spent. So I'm like huffing on that. Like I'm on like Mount Everest. I got my headphones on. I'm listening to Zach Bryan, like trying to just get on another planet because I'm not about what's about to happen. And so the nurse does her thing. And I'm like, all right, like I'm getting nice and high, let's be honest here. And the doctor comes in and I think it's just natural. I try to avoid going to doctor's offices, but I've been to enough in my life and it's just like a respect thing. So I automatically like prop up like to greet them hi. And he just comes in and he just like looks at me. He's like, why are you getting up? And I was oh, hi. And then he's like, lay down and I was like, so talk about bedside manner. But you know what? I appreciated it because we weren't there for conversation. We were there to get in and out of there. And then he left and he was like, all right, you could huff on that for a little bit.
That's so funny. Yeah, doctors don't need to have that empathy, except plastic surgeons. I think they do.
Yeah, maybe pre, post-op kind of thing. So before we call this a day, because I know you're a busy lady, not a girl boss, you're a lady. As the show says, cross-examine with Mike Troiano. So are you ready to be on the witness stand?
Yes.
Okay. And the rules of evidence are laxed. So we'll move around some of those NRS statutes. We started the show with a brief introduction. You are an undergrad graduate at Vanderbilt University, correct?
Yes.
And you mentioned that not only did you attend there, that you had a full ride scholarship. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming that's an academic scholarship?
Yes.
Were you the valedictorian?
No.
How the hell not?
Okay, this is like kind of one of my biggest secrets.
Please tell us secrets.
I was homeschooled my last 2 years of high school.
You don't give off homeschool vibes?
No, I'm a homeschool jungle freak like in Mean Girls. No. Okay. And so I don't tell anyone that.
Are you a cool mom?
Because I'm a cool mom.
You're a cool mom? Okay.
I don't tell anyone that because it's so embarrassing.
Yeah,
you know?
You're past that.
Like, I know, it's a little weird though, but.
So how does a homeschool How does anybody get into Vanderbilt? Because I Googled it. I already knew that it wasn't like a fly-by-night kind of school. And I was going on like Reddits and they're like, oh, it's like a super reach school. And some kid said, I have a 3.3 and people were like clowning. I'm like, you're never getting in.
You're never getting in.
I got really into the Matrix on Vanderbilt. Yeah, I was like studying up. And so, you weren't valedictorian. So then how'd you get in? Well, I guess you were if you were homeschooled.
Yeah, I was valedictorian. Okay. So I took community college classes too. And then I taught myself the advanced placement. Remember the AP test?
No, I avoided that because I knew I wanted to go to law school and I only took what mattered.
So I did all this, I didn't do anything extra. Okay. Myself, studied it. And so then I was unique. So then that gave me an edge because let's face it, I'm like a white Jewish girl, Jewish last name. How am I going to get in? How am I unique, to a school? And so that homeschooling plan and my whole course of what we did gave me, because to get into these good undergrads, you need to be unique, different, gave me that.
Did you like a promotional video or something?
No. I feel like I made like this binder.
Yes, I knew there was something there.
There was like something weird. Yeah. It was like this binder and it was a little embarrassing.
I would love to see it.
I don't know. I'm sure my dad has it. This is like his claim to fame.
I'm calling you, Mel. I'm calling you.
Yeah, he basically developed this homeschooling program. It was insane.
Were you expecting to get in? Where was Katie Goldberg's mentality about that? I would have
died if I didn't get in.
Whoa.
I was.
Oh my God, you're here.
To drink Ajax.
Did you apply anywhere else?
I applied their early admissions, so then you have a higher chance to get in.
So you got in. And you got a full ride academic scholarship.
Yeah.
What was your major?
Philosophy.
Nerd alert.
It was really easy. Was
it a good time there?
It was so much fun. And then because of my community college classes and the APs, I only had to take like a minimum credits. And so I could party, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it was great.
Do you want me to share with you my horrible disdain for Vanderbilt University?
Wait, why do you hate that? Because of football?
You know it. You know I was going there. No, I don't hate them. I've moved on. It's only been 20 years.
They're like not even good in the SEC.
So I bet a 10-team parlay, and any of our gamblers out there, parlay is a sucker's bet. But when you're in college and you've only got $5, $10, $20 to bet, you got to go for the long shot, right? So I did a college football 10-team parlay. I was probably 20, if that. 20, 21 years old, and it was Saturday, right? Most college games are on Saturday, or at least they were. Now it's like every day of the week there's something going on. But I hit 9. I put like $5 or $10 down. I had like 3 to 5 G's coming to me, which was balling at the time. I'm living on my own, working a small apartment with my roommate, throwing too many parties there. And we ended up going to the UNLV game. And so you would, anybody's watching, like, well, if you had 9, why wouldn't you go hedge it? Like UNLV, the old Sam Boyd Stadium was like on the other side of the world, and I wanted to go have fun, hang out with my friends. So I couldn't make it. So it was literally down to Vanderbilt, and I think they were playing the University of Miami, and it was Jay Cutler who came to be a pro, so huge hero over there. And Jay Cutler beat the spread, and so that was that hurt for a while.
I'm surprised they won.
I don't know if they won, but they beat the spread. He may have. So, so 9 out of 10 on a 10-teamer, that gets you nothing. You're a loser. But I'm glad that Vanderbilt gave you a good experience.
It was fun. It was a fun school.
Now, we referenced your famous heel or shoe collection. I don't know if you have a specific name for it. I've seen this online that you post because you're very social media present. And personally, it gives me anxiety. How did this start? Is it an obsession?
Oh, yeah.
Let's self-describe it, because I'm sure that there's people who are into that, and I'm presuming mainly females are into high heel collections, would be jealous, I guess is a fair word, whatever you want to call it, to see what you've gathered. Tell me, because it scares me. I have to start swiping when I see Katie. I'm like, I want to see the family. I want to see the kids.
So
you start
funny.
showing the closet. I'm like, I feel like it's a burden on me.
What's funny? Steve goes, you don't really buy that many shoes.
What a perfect husband.
He said that to me a few weeks ago. I'm like, so then I immediately start buying more.
I tell Becca that we have to crawl back on spending when I see your posts.
That's so funny. That gives you that much anxiety. It started as a little kid. I would always, my mom, she'd be like, okay, if you're good at the office, I'll take you to the farm shops, and we can look around. And so then I developed this, Ginger, really, the fur coat scenes, all of it, the jewelry scenes. So then I would see all these nice things. And I think that that's what really pushed me into gear to make me want to be successful, as bad as it sounds, is to have, nice things. So
look good, feel good.
Yeah. And it's fun.
As long as you can afford it, right?
It's like I'm very creative, and it's a way of expressing myself, and it's fun, and it's definitely an obsession. I mean, I go on to Red Note, which is an app in China, to see what's the new stuff coming out. So my phone was like in Chinese because it somehow changed my phone. But that's how dedicated I am to this process.
So if you had to share one pair with the high heel freaks out there that are watching this pod, like what's one pair that you just love? Like what's a great pair that if the first one you would show to a new friend that came into your house that was like, I got to see the collection, what would be the first pair you'd show?
That's really tough. Probably my blue Manolo Blahniks, just the classic Manolo Blahnik look. Sex in the City, classic look.
No idea what that means, but it sounds good.
Yeah,
you're like, the classic, of course.
You don't know? Yeah.
No, I don't know because, as I've stated, it scares me. But I'm happy for you in that aspect. Now, Goldberg Injury Law. Have you seen the movie Mighty Ducks 2?
The Goldberg. Everyone would always say that.
Goldberg, the goalie.
But not the second one.
Well, the second one's great. That's when roller hockey came out, and that's where my hockey career started. But that's a whole other podcast. So Goldberg, the goalie, came out in Mighty Ducks 2, classic 1990s movie. You were too busy watching Casino and kindergarten, people doing coke and killing each other.
That was more my thing.
I'm surprised you didn't do criminal defense. So Goldberg, the goalie, anybody who knows Mighty Ducks knows him. When are we going to get like a collab? Get Goldberg, the goalie, and one of your commercials.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Wrestler too. That's a little different thing. So I heard he's not doing so well. I think there were some addiction issues there. So that sucks.
To what?
Probably meth.
Meth?
I mean, like I tell my clients, meth isn't a social drug.
Wait, which Goldberg, the wrestler or the hockey?
The hockey guy.
Oh, I did hear that too.
And if I'm wrong, don't sue me.
Meth is really bad.
It sounds like there was a downturn. Hopefully he's doing great. But if he's doing well and your images align, Goldberg the goalie, Goldberg the law firm, I think you'll get a lot of run with that.
That would be really, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Just a little pro tip. And we are close to wrapping up here. So I'll end with a question that Jay asked me a couple years ago, and it scared me.
Oh, boy.
And now I'm a lot more adept to answering this question. What is your 5-year plan?
Know that. I feel like let me think.
I don't care if it's personal, business, or a mix. Where do you see things going 5 years from now? You got
I'd
so
like
much
to
momentum.
I really want to get into commercial real estate. I really want to buy office buildings and rent them out. I want
buildings or a building for your firm?
I want to buy a building for my firm, start there, and then eventually buy more office space and rent it out. That's what I really want to get into.
Okay. So you know to call me, right? Since I'm a little over 1 year into being a building owner.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No. Congratulations.
Thank you. Come on down to 8th and Bonneville right there on
That's amazing.
the corner. We put a lot of work into it, and we're starting phase 2 soon to get jump from a early 1990s law firm vibe that you probably were as a kid going to more 2000. So we'll have to
that's cool.
we'll have to talk
I'll have
about
to see
that.
it. Yeah. We'll have to film it. That's really cool.
It's a lot of work, and I got a lot of tips
scary.
along the way. So that's the 5-year plan. Is you want to be a commercial building owner for your firm, as well as a landlord, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Own assets, baby.
Yep.
Katie, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.